Hey, how's everybody doing, man? Just getting logged in here real quick. My name is Jared Glenn. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Cardone Enterprises, Grant Cardone Training Technologies, and this is the weekly webinar. Today we are talking to the managers. We're talking about onboarding and what you can do to create success when you're out there, you're onboarding people. Because look, getting people started out on the right foot, man, that's the most important thing, right? Setting the right expectations up front, making sure they come in, they know that they're set up for success. I mean, think about all those things you went through when you were coming into a company. And what we want to try to do is we want to try to actually create some best practices, some only practices, if you will, within your company, to where when somebody comes in, they're reassured that, hey, these people are invested in me and my success. These people are going to be here for me. There's a lot of training opportunities. And this is going to be a great deal for me. That's a critical time, right? It's a critical time when somebody comes to a new company. Things are very new to them. They're very fresh. They're very uncomfortable, very intimidating. I mean, I know when we hire people walking into our sales room, I mean, you know, sometimes they're like, you know, they don't know what to expect. They're coming to work for Grant Cardone, and there's all these people that are really good on the phone, and they're loud, and they're walking around, and they're, you know, very boisterous and outgoing, and you know, a lot of yelling, and I mean, it's a very intimidating thing. So, you know, just imagine somebody walking into your business, into a $25 million building that's big, massive Taj Mahal, and there's all these expensive, beautiful vehicles everywhere, and, you know, probably very strong, similar personalities in your business as well. It can be a very intimidating thing. And so what we want to try to do is try to quell. I think that's the right word to use, quell. I'm going to have to look that up. Feels like it fits, though. So what we want to try to do is create some things that you can do in your store to make sure that when somebody comes in, they know that they're going to win. And we're going to show you how to do that with Cardone On Demand, the virtual training platform that you currently have access to. So I want to cover a few things related to getting somebody started. First and foremost, do you even know that you have the right person in the first place? Now, not everybody is fortunate to have people knocking down their door wanting to work there. Not everybody's fortunate with a lot of hiring, abundant hiring opportunities, or big talent pool, or anything like that. So, you know, for those of you that are not, it's more important than ever to make sure that we're getting the right people, right? So part of Cardone On Demand, you may not have access to this. If you do not, and you'd like to learn more about it, all you have to do is call the office. It's 310-777-0255, 310-777-0255. What I'm talking about is I'm talking about the DISC assessment. So the DISC assessment is a personality profile. It indexes everything about a person, and it's going to tell you, hey, do they have the traits? Do they have whatever it takes to be successful here within this company? And so it's going to deliver you a 32-page report that's going to break down everything: their strengths, their weaknesses, how they're going to be as an employee, how they'd be as a manager, how to deal with them with conflict. I mean, it breaks everything down. So most of you should have access to that piece of the program. So we just want to make sure that somebody's a really good fit, right? And not just by their personality, but also like culturally, are they a fit? You know, like maybe you're a family-owned business, or you have a certain religious values, and you have somebody coming in who has a background or beliefs, or maybe opinions about things that would be very confrontational in the workplace. Probably somebody you'd want to pass on, right? Now, I don't know the legalities in your state or where you're at on who you can and can't hire, what you can and can't base that off of, so you're going to have to do the research on that on your own. I'm just saying, make sure that people are a fit, their personality is a fit, their culture is a fit with what you guys believe will create somebody who's successful there. I think Zappos, I believe it was Zappos. I was reading a book, big shoe e-commerce company, and the way that they hire is they have two metrics that they hire off of. They have an interview process based off of, does the resume, do the skills, does all of that fit? And then they have a second series of interviews that all it is based on, will they fit the Zappos culture? Will they, deliver happiness at every step of the way to our customers? Will they deliver the levels of service that people come to expect from us? So there's a lot of different things that you can do out there, but those are probably the first two things is making sure you get the right person. Do they have the profile index that shows them to be successful? And then do they fit your culture of your business? One quick thing that I do want to say about those personality profiles is by using the existing staff that you have as a benchmark, you can actually identify key players quicker. Let me show you what I mean. Now, obviously, you don't want to duplicate the bad employees, right? If you got somebody that you could live without, you probably wouldn't want them involved in this test. But let's say you take your top 2 or top 3 employees from every department and you put them through a personality profile, right? You whether it's DISC, the one that we offer as part of Cardone On Demand, or another platform, who knows? Put them through there. You're going to get an index of that person's personality breakdown. And now, obviously, if that was a good hiring decision before, it's going to be a good one again. So let's try to duplicate it. So now if my DISC assessment shows I'm a high D, and Robert's shows he's a high D, and I'm a top performer, it might be a good idea to take a good look at Robert if that's the same personality that his assessment is showing. So there's in addition to just, hey, how do you feel in the interview, there's a lot of things that we can do to try to give you a little bit more predictability in this whole process. So, first and foremost, you want to set good expectations for anybody coming into your company. Let them know. Like we hired a guy recently who came from the insurance business, and he was promised the world in terms of training opportunities. He was promised the world in terms of how quick that, he would accelerate and grow. It turns out that they had never offered any significant training opportunities to anybody, and the on-ramp that was being promised was something that had never been done before. So, you got to make sure that you're setting the right expectations for people up front. When people come here, we tell them, hey, look, we train every single day. Somebody walks in the first day on the job here, they will see that we are a training organization at heart. I mean, every single day we're training, we're role-playing, we're drilling, we're practicing, we're listening in on phone calls all day, throughout the day, every day. We're constantly focused on getting better. To the degree that somebody new coming into the space wouldn't have to ask, hey, what type of training opportunities do you have? I mean, they would see it. Think about that. Think about creating an environment for new people coming in where they can see. They don't have to ask. You don't have to tell them, but they can actually see, because of the way that you run your business. Wow, dude, these people have their stuff together. I'm going to be successful here, right? And you also want to make sure that you set good expectations. I mean, look, when we're trying to hire people, we're trying to bring talent in, you always want to make it look as appealing as possible. But when I tell somebody, hey, look, you can come here and make $300,000 or $400,000 a year, I can show them salespeople that are making that and who made that last month. So you want to make sure that you can give people that reality. And all these things I'm telling you, they're all tiny little things that we've figured out here that have proven to be really successful. And so, if you've got some, we definitely would love to hear from you. The number here in the studio is 305-865-8668. If you have like a knockout, knockdown, works every time, hiring trick, tip, or strategy to get somebody from not knowing anything about your company or your product or what you guys do to being successful in a short period of time, call, let us know. I'd love to hear from you. So, again, establish early on that there are going to be a lot of training opportunities within your company. Take the time to show them Cardone On Demand. Okay, take the time to get somebody inside the program and walk them through and show them, hey, here's where you can go to get information on sales or closing or prospecting or follow-up or negotiating or making an outbound call, taking an inbound call, how to stay more motivated, how to make a ton of money on the phones. I mean, literally everything that you could need in a sales organization is in this program. Reinforce that early on with people. Get them engaged early on. Let them know you're going to win here. You're going to do well. If you follow this plan, dude, you're on your way to 6 figures in no time at all, okay? 25% of employees quit because of lack of training opportunities. And so, when you look at the the things that work and the things that don't with onboarding. I've worked with a lot of companies, particularly with their onboarding, and the answers are kind of all over the map. I mean, some people are really good at it and some people freaking suck at it. I mean, have you worked at a company that like absolutely sucked at it? Have either of you guys worked at a company where you went to start there and they were just like, go for it, and you just got to try to figure it out on your own? Dude, it happens all the time. And surprisingly, some really big companies that you would think are like, wow, this company's really got it together, are some of the worst. But they just pump so many people through that, you know, occasionally somebody sticks. So look, two things that you need to do when somebody's coming into your company. One, you need to teach them how to sell, right? Never, ever, ever rely on somebody's understanding of sales before they come to your company. Like if somebody came to us and said they know how to sell, I would be very suspect. Very suspect. Because we have a very tight understanding of the process and everything that is incorporated within it. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I understand everything about sales, be like, okay, I understand. Most people in your position think they know a lot about sales too. I thought I knew a lot about sales till I came to work here. So you got to establish that platform. So like, one of the things that I see is a new salesperson will come, and the first thing they get taught is how to sell a car. They'll start going through the process of selling a car. Okay, you got to greet a customer. You got to ask them good questions. Then you're going to take them on a test drive and bring them back and show them how much it costs to own, and then ask them to buy. Very simple process, okay? All you got to do is start here and end there, all right? That's the first thing that they teach them. But now, like if you hired somebody that was working in a bar, or if you hired somebody that was working at Banana Republic, who knows what they know about selling? You haven't taught them how to sell. You've taught them how to sell a product, okay? And so what we want to do is we want to establish that baseline first. So there's a module of content in the platform called the Fundamentals of Selling, okay? It's got to be the first module that everybody goes through because it establishes a consistent foundation for everybody you're bringing into your company. At any level, anybody talking to a person, anybody that's customer facing, go through the fundamentals of selling because it's going to establish those cornerstones, right, that you can then start building on top of, right? So you've got a lot of company history and your way of doing things, but look, you need everybody to have the same platform that you're building off of. And the fundamentals of selling is unbelievable for that. Great client of ours, Rick Case Automotive Group. They've got like 2,000 salespeople. That's the first thing that they put their new hires into is they put them right into the fundamentals of selling, and it tends to work really well for them. So after you teach them how to sell, you give them their introductory sales course, then you start teaching them how to sell your product, not product before sales, okay? So that's one thing that you definitely want to understand. And let's talk about some other processes that don't really work. So the sink or swim thing, which we talked about. Hey, here's the job. Here's what you got to do. A little smack on the tail and get to work. So we know that really doesn't work. Okay. Occasionally you'll find a diamond in the rough, but what's going to happen more often than not, people are going to stay with you for 2, 3, 4 months, maybe, and then they're going to blow out. And the problem with that is Career Builder did a study recently, and it showed that the average employee that stays less than 6 months, if they're making less than $70,000 a year, will cost you at minimum $30,000. I was talking to a dealer the other day. He said at minimum it would cost you 30. It could cost you as much as 50 or 60. So hiring the wrong people, keeping the wrong people around, not getting people onboarded the right way, not training them right in the beginning, it's extremely expensive, and it's not a number that's going to hit on your financial statement. So you need to be aware of the hidden costs of not keeping people and not having people onboarded the right way. Now, we can help you with all of this. For a lot of our clients, what we do is we go through and we create custom curriculums where week by week, day by day, we break down the first 30 days for a new hire. Okay, what content do we need them going through? Do we want them focused on phones first, or do we want them focused on closing a transaction first, or whatever the case may be? But we can create custom curriculums for you to follow along with so that you have something in place. I mean, you'd agree that hiring people is tough, right? So when you get somebody, you want to make sure you keep them and then they stick around. Makes your job a whole lot easier. So we know that the sink or swim thing doesn't work. The other thing that doesn't work is the lecture. You bring somebody in and you have one of the managers get up and you have them lecture them all day long. Okay, that does not work either. We know that people have really short attention spans. Okay, they can't stay focused for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, let alone probably 20 or 30 or 40 minutes on one thing before they just start checking out, right? Start yawning, getting tired, getting distracted, looking at all this over here, wondering, man, is this what this is going to be like? I wanted to be excited, right? So we know that doesn't work either. So now what can you do that will work, right? So we know that the sink or swim doesn't work. We know that sitting in a room and doing lectures all day, that ain't going to work either. So what can we do that works? Well, we know that the blended approach works best, where you deliver some content and then you have the practical attached behind it. Okay, so deliver content, practical. We actually have a process that we use for training and developing and transferring skill that we found to be really effective. Number 1 is content delivery, consistent content delivery. 2 is discussion about the material to kind of iron out all the wrinkles. 3 is the practical, the role play, actually doing what we've taught or what we've communicated. And then the 4th time is just the repetition, the duration of time that you spend on it, going over it again, right? It's all about building that muscle in place to where like people know it so well they can't forget it. There's a saying, being a professional isn't about doing something well, it's about knowing it so well that you can never do it wrong. I think I butchered that a little bit, but you get the point. And the only way that you can get to that point is through the repetition. So no sink or swim, no all-day lecture. We have to have some type of blended approach where we're incorporating some lecture, we're incorporating some discussion, we're incorporating some role play, and then we're building on that incrementally. So we have pretty much like a 30-day process to bring people on board here, right? It's some of the stuff that we do for a very specific reason, not necessarily to build skill, maybe more to build character, I guess you could say. So we get people, we make outbound calls, basically cold calls. Most people these days that we're calling in the auto space know who Grant Cardone is. So technically it's not a cold call, but it's pretty close. And so we put people down really early, probably second day, and have them make cold calls. And it's brutal. But what we're trying to do right now is to try to teach them a lesson that perfection isn't as important as movement forward or production, right? Perfection is not as important as production. So what I would recommend that when you're bringing people new on board, you need to push them into situations that are going to make them uncomfortable very fast. Why? Because that's when you're going to find out who they really are. When somebody gets their back up against the wall and they have to perform, that's when you're going to see, do they rise or do they fall? You're there to support. When we're making calls, we got a new person making calls and we hear them getting in trouble, we'll jump over on the phone. We'll go in through our system and listen in on their call and jump in if we need to. But we're there for them, but we need to make sure that they're getting in past that comfort thing as quick as possible. For some, you don't put somebody in front of a customer for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's a problem. I mean, they're sitting around. It's this big buildup, right? We want to nip that in the bud as quick as humanly possible. We want to make sure that somebody can get over the fact that they're calling somebody that probably doesn't want to hear from them, probably going to hang up on them, and might say a few curse words, right? It just might happen. But let's get it out of the way early so that we can focus on building skill after that. So you have to incorporate practical into this. You have to make sure that you're communicating that production and actually making the phone call or greeting the customer or doing the deal, even if you're not good, is more important than being perfect. It's more important to get out there and get the reps in than it is to be perfect, okay? And you need to build incrementally on what was previously covered. So each day, like what we'll do, like if we're doing role play, our 30-day onboarding process for a new hire, and we're doing role play, what we'll do is we'll start focusing on individual skills, like, hey, just the intro to the call, and then the intro to the call, and then handling objections. And then we'll go back to the intro, and then we'll handle objections, and then we'll transition into the presentation. And then we'll go back to the beginning and do the intro, and then handling the objections, and then transitioning into the demo, and then transitioning to the write-up and the close, and then going all the way back to the beginning. And we keep doing this cycle over and over and over again, where we continue to recirculate everything through, because what happens is you start looking back and the reps start increasing incrementally in a big way. And that's really what's going to get people quick and fast and confident and smooth, right? And winning. Most importantly, winning. Okay? You got to get the reps in. So, I'll give you an example of this. We do a 4-day management school in Orlando, Florida. We do it every quarter. Great course, automotive. It's management specific, okay? It's a train the trainer course, if you want to call it that. We do a couple things. One, we go over our sales process and why a short process is better for the customer, it's better for the dealer, better for everybody involved. The second part of it is really training how to train. And you do that by observation, because at the end of 3.5 days or 4 days, what's going to happen is you're going to look back and you're going to go, holy cow, I learned all these word tracks. I learned all these rebuttals. I learned all these different strategies. I learned all of this. I learned all of that. I learned all of this. And at the end, you're going to be like, and I actually remember it all. And then you're going to start thinking back and you're sort of going, well, what worked? Right? And then we're going to give you a binder like that thick to go back and work with your team. Because what we do is we incrementally build on the success that we've had before, and we don't lose the skill that we've just visited. This happens a lot in continuous education in dealerships. What happens is you have 1 or 2 sales meetings a week that are more of a meeting than they are of a training, but we call them training when they really aren't, okay? And you talk about something different. So Tuesday meeting, we're going to talk about the product, and then Thursday meetings, we're going to talk about the phone. And then next Tuesday, we're going to talk about closing a deal. And the next Thursday, we're going to talk about making a proposal or putting a write-up in front of a customer and going through numbers. And then every day, you're doing something different. You're not going to build muscle that way. You create activity that way. So you need to be thoughtful with your sales process. You've invested the time to say, hey, look, this is the way that we're going to sell cars, right? You need to be thoughtful in your training process, not just for your onboarding, but for your training. Like, what are we doing on a daily basis? That's one of the reasons why Cardone On Demand is so effective, because we can say, hey, we could do a weekly plan for you for the next 3 years, and you'd never repeat the same segment of content. If you want to focus in one specific area, we can create boot camps for you. We can create an outline for you to fix specific problems in your business, okay? We have a process for administering content. Do you? Extremely important. Without your process, you're going to have activity. Activity produces work. A process produces results. That's why you have a sales process. That's why you need to have a training process. That's why you need to have an onboarding process, because the consistency over and over and over again is going to eliminate all those little outliers, those little things that pop up that surprise you that you didn't expect to be there. So look, again, some takeaways from today about onboarding. Make sure you're getting the right people with our personality profile, the DISC assessment. Make sure that they're a culture fit for you. Make sure that you're setting expectations early on in the process. Show people that your organization is committed to training. Don't just tell them. Okay, show them people that are making money. Don't just tell them that there's endless opportunities, right? Establish all that early on. Also, teach people how to sell before you teach them how to sell your product. Make sure, verify that they know about sales before you build this massive structure of product knowledge and how we, do business at our store. Before you build all of that on a weak foundation, make sure that you have something solid at the bottom that can support everything that you're about to do. Teach people how to sell, then teach them about the product. Do it in increments. The sink and swim does not work. I just got reminded of a thing that a teacher used to tell me when you're making presentations, and this helps with expectations. It helps with retention of the material. Is you tell somebody what you're going to tell them. Okay, so you're getting up, you're going to do a presentation. You're going to teach somebody something. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Okay. Tell them what you told them, right? So tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them, and then tell them what you told them, right? Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them. And then tell them what you told them. So you kind of work that together where like people know what's coming in the beginning, then they get what they're going to get, and then at the end you go back and you revisit everything that you covered. You recycle through it. So look, repetition's key. Make sure that you guys are all over that. Use our boot camps in the platform to help you create those tailored plans. If you need help individually, all you got to do is call 310-777-0255. 310-777-0255. We've got an office full of people, skilled people that can help you create the perfect onboarding process for you and your business. We'll see you next time. I'm Jared Glant.